In this video, we will look at attachment style and how this impacts schizoid lives. Attachment theory, primarily developed by psychologist John Bowlby and further refined by Mary Ainsworth, is a psychological theory concerning relationships between human beings. The core concept of attachment theory is the establishment of a psychological connection between individuals and emphasizes the importance of the bond between the primary caregiver, usually the mother, and the child. This bond is crucial for the child's social, emotional, and cognitive development. Attachment theory posits that children develop internal working models of relationships based on their experiences with their caregivers. These models guide their expectations and interactions in future relationships going forth into adulthood. There are two basic forms of attachment: secure attachment and insecure attachment, which is split into three separate categories. An infant develops secure attachment when their primary caregiver is consistent and responsive to their needs. Generally speaking, children with secure attachment feel safe to explore their environment and are comfortable with social interactions. An insecure attachment takes place when an infant is not trusting of their relationship with others. This pattern typically arises from inconsistent or inadequate responses from the primary caregiver during early childhood. The attachment style that an infant develops will influence their relationships going forth into adulthood. Securely attached individuals typically have healthier, more positive relationship patterns, whilst those with insecure attachment styles may struggle with intimacy, trust, and self-esteem. The three types of insecure attachment styles are avoidant attachment, anxious ambivalent attachment, and disorganized attachment. During this video, we'll be focusing most on the avoidant attachment style, which involves avoidant dismissive attachment style in relation to schizoid individuals. To start off, let's look at what a secure attachment looks like. With secure attachment, this style is characterized by a healthy adaptive bond between the child and their caregiver. Securely attached children feel confident that their caregivers will meet their needs. They're comfortable with closeness and dependence, but also exhibit independence and exploration. When faced with separation, securely attached children may become upset, but are quickly comforted upon the caregiver's return. This foundation leads to positive self-esteem, strong emotional regulation, and healthy relationships in adulthood. So to summarize, secure attachment is marked by a balance of dependence and independence, emotional openness, and confidence in relationships. Individuals with schizoid personality disorder or schizoid dynamics are likely to develop an avoidant attachment style as an infant. This attachment style is characterized by a reluctance or inability to form close emotional bonds and a preference for emotional distance and self-sufficiency. The development of avoidant attachment style in schizoid individuals is likely to occur due to failure of attunement in their parent-child relationship, and so this means a failure to successfully bond with their primary caregiver. I'll break down some points related to this that will explain this further. Parental responsiveness is an important factor in the development of secure attachment style in infants. Infants develop an avoidant attachment style, often due to caregivers who are emotionally distant, unresponsive, or consistently unavailable. Lack of emotional responsiveness from caregivers can lead the child to believe that their needs, both emotional and physical, will not be met. Infants tend to avoid the caregiver in stressful situations when they have a history of experiencing rebuff of attachment behavior. This means that their attempts at seeking comfort and security were repeatedly dismissed or ignored, leading them to stop seeking such interactions. Due to their needs being frequently unmet, these infants learn to rely on themselves, rather than seeking support or comfort from their caregivers. This self-reliance is a coping mechanism, but also contributes to the development of an avoidant attachment style. Children develop internal representations or models of relationships based on their interactions with caregivers. And so if this model is created on the basis of expecting emotional unavailability and rejection, then this is likely to lead to a preference for solitude and emotional distance. We can look a bit deeper at how infants with avoidant attachment styles behave and how these patterns manifest in their interactions with their caregivers. So we're seeing infants who tend to avoid seeking comfort from their caregiver, even in distressing situations, because they've learned through repeated experiences of rejection or unresponsiveness that their needs will not be consistently met. During separations or reunions, avoidant infants might appear indifferent to their caregiver's absence or return, and they may not cry when the caregiver leaves, and can be equally nonchalant upon the caregiver's return. Even at a very young age, these infants may show a higher degree of self-reliance compared to their peers. This behavior is not necessarily because they are more independent by nature, but because they have adapted to the unavailability of their caregiver. When they do interact with their caregiver, the engagement might seem superficial or emotionally detached. They might play independently rather than seek interaction or play with the caregiver. Upon the caregiver's return, avoidant infants might actively avoid physical contact or closeness. If picked up, they may show little contact maintaining behavior, like not cuddling into the caregiver or looking away, and they may even squirm to get down. These infants tend to suppress their emotions as a coping mechanism. Whilst on the surface they may seem to be not affected by the caregiver's presence or absence, underlying stress responses like increased heart rate can sometimes be observed in studies, indicating that their emotional neutrality may be more of a defensive posture or mask than genuine indifference. Infants who exhibit avoidant attachment style have a propensity to go on to develop dismissive avoidant attachment style in their adult relationships, which is common in many individuals with schizoid personality disorder. Here are some of the key characteristics of dismissive avoidant attachment style. Individuals with this attachment style highly value their independence and self-sufficiency. They often believe that they don't need close relationships and can handle things on their own. They tend to keep an emotional distance from others, including those with whom they're in a relationship. This detachment is a way to protect themselves from potential hurt or disappointment. There's a general avoidance of intimacy, as getting too close to someone can be seen as a threat to their independence. They're also likely to resist forming deep emotional connections. Dismissive avoidant individuals often downplay the importance of relationships and may view themselves as not needing others for emotional support. Showing vulnerability or relying on others can be particularly challenging. They may struggle to open up and share deep feelings, or might withdraw when situations become emotionally demanding. There's often an emphasis on the importance of self-reliance, taking care of oneself, sometimes to the extent of dismissing the benefits of mutual support and interdependence in relationships. Even though they have the same fundamental attachment needs as others, deep down, they often minimize or suppress these needs, possibly not recognizing them consciously. Trusting others and relying on them for emotional support can be difficult for individuals who have dismissive avoidant attachment style. And this is stemmed from a deep down fear of being vulnerable or getting hurt. They may actively suppress thoughts and feelings related to attachment and intimacy as a subconscious protection mechanism. Finally, they may end relationships in order to maintain or regain their independence. So in situations where they feel their independence is threatened, they might end relationships so that they can regain their sense of self-sufficiency. Throughout this video, we've looked at ways in which avoidant attachment style can develop in infants and how this translates into adult relationships. Learning about avoidant dismissive attachment can further assist us in understanding why schizoid individuals struggle with intimacy in relationships and where their difficulty in forming relationship connections may stem from. It's important to remember that not all schizoid individuals have had parents that were cold and neglectful, as some have come from parental styles that were either intrusive or out of attunement with their needs for other reasons. Schizoid individuals who have developed defenses before the age of individuation, that is a primary schizoid, are likely to have displayed withdrawn and detached behavior very early on, and this may have impacted how they were treated by their primary caregiver. For example, a sensitive detached infant that doesn't reach out to the caregiver, may withdraw from the caregiver during affection, may be perceived as not open to or rejecting of love by the parent. Sometimes the parent may be ill or depressed after giving birth and isn't in the position to properly care for the child. This is a complex issue as there are many different aspects to the early parent-child relationship dynamics and many different scenarios and situations that can lead to an avoidant attachment style developing within an infant. The dismissive avoidant attachment style can affect a person's relationships throughout their life. However, it's important to note that attachment styles are not fixed and can change over time through personal development, therapy, and significant life experiences.